on the ball. I made sure to get my prescription filled right before heading to Mexico. And then I drove off without it. I got here and realized I had a couple pills left and needed to get my prescription quickly. Thought it was going to be a nightmare. It was much easier than I thought, and the process might surprise you. So hi, I'm Dominique, and welcome, or welcome back to Morelia. Before I left for Mexico, I looked into what it would be like to get my prescription filled over here. And they said that prescriptions from the United States were not valid here. You couldn't use an international prescription, which meant Walmart couldn't transfer my prescription to the Walmart here in Morelia. So, thinking ahead, I went and I got my prescription filled, and I made sure I had a brand new bottle to start off with here. I was still working on my other one. Note to self, next time, my prescription and anything else that is absolutely necessary will be with the stuff that is going in the car. If I have to use it for a week, right there at that point, that's what I'm going to do. I thought it was smart to leave all of my things together, but it wasn't smart to leave them where I normally use them instead of with the items that were going. If I had seen them, they would have made it into the car. But they were literally out of sight, and so they were out of mind that day. So here I am in Morelia, where I thought I was going to have a month to get my prescription filled, and now I needed it almost immediately. With hypothyroidism, you don't always notice the effects of being off your pills as soon as you stop taking them. In my case, it takes me about 3 days before I start to feel a little bit more tired. It'll take me another 3 or 4 days before I start to feel a little fuzzy, which is kind of hard to explain to somebody who doesn't have it, but it's almost like you're not thinking quite as clearly, or you're making silly mistakes, or you're forgetting small things that you wouldn't normally forget. So I knew I really had a week before things started to kind of go downhill. The plan was to get a referral, hopefully from somebody that I would meet here, or take the time to look up doctors and investigate them. But that wasn't the situation. My initial thought was just to have them mailed to me. I thought, I'm going to pay this ridiculous fee to have them mailed overnight, but at least I would have them. Turned out that legally it's not that easy. There are forms you need to fill out. You have to provide documentation, and then you still have to have it approved. My daughter didn't have any access to that documentation that was needed. So for a brief moment, I thought about asking my daughter to just drop them in the mail and see what happened. Maybe they would make it, maybe they wouldn't. But I wasn't really comfortable asking my girl to do anything illegal. I figured they would probably end up confiscated. Even if she put them in a generic container without my name on it, they were still going to end up somewhere else. Wasn't comfortable with that. And then I noticed I didn't have a mailbox here anyway. I assumed maybe that people get mail at the post office, but at that point I had no idea where the post office was. So that idea was nixed. Getting them mailed was no longer an option. And I started reeling. What am I going to do? How am I going to find a doctor? If I find one online, how am I going to know if they're good? How am I going to know if they're located? How am I going to make an appointment when I don't speak Spanish? I was running all this stuff through my head and ended up sort of developing analysis paralysis. I didn't do anything for a couple days. And then I started to think about my own prescription, and I realized I had started using a Telemed service about 1.5 years earlier. Maybe they had one here. If they had a Telemed service here, they would tell me which office was located closest to me where I could go and get my blood work done. So that became the plan. I Googled it and found a Telemed service. It was really easy to set up the appointment. I went to their website, put in my information. It was all in English, selected an appointment date, and waited for them to contact me. And there will be a link to the Telemed service I use. The link will take you to a page that shows you all the different cities that they service. They said they were going to contact me through WhatsApp, which coincidentally I had only gotten a couple days earlier. I had stopped into an OXXO, which is sort of like their version of a 7-Eleven, and the guy behind the counter offered me their rewards card. Now, at that time, I was only going to be here 2 months, and I didn't really see a need to get it. But the guy said it was worth it. You know, there's OXXOs everywhere, and that it was really easy to set up. I just needed to set it up through WhatsApp. I didn't have WhatsApp, and I told him so. And he kind of looked at me like, that's a mistake. He said, you might want to get WhatsApp, basically, even if you don't get the card, because everybody here uses WhatsApp. The businesses use WhatsApp. And so I thought for a second that he's not only trying to be helpful, but he is probably giving me good advice and I should take it. So I took the card and downloaded the app. So here I was now waiting and staring at my phone 15 minutes before the appointment, just to make sure I didn't miss the call. I didn't know if maybe they might contact you early if they had the time or how that worked. So the doctor messaged me literally right on time. He introduced himself and asked me about my situation. And I explained it to him, and he said it wasn't a problem. He asked me if I knew what my medication was, if I knew what my dosage was. If I didn't, did I have an image or of the prescription or the bottle I could just send to him? When I had asked my daughter to check the medicine cabinet, I also had her take a photo of my pill bottle. I figured I might need it here. So I had that and I just shot that over to him. And he looked at it and he said that this medication might be difficult to get. I take a natural version called Armor Thyroid versus a synthetic like Synthroid or levothyroxine. Those just don't work as well for me. I understood that. Almost every time I get my prescription filled, I have to wait for them to order it. So that wasn't anything new for me. It's not an extremely common thing for people to use the natural version. And I'm just going to put my 2 cents in here with no medical training, no doctor, no nothing. If you're finding that you don't feel right on those other ones, maybe give the natural version a try. It was advised to me by one of my coworkers, and it took me a few years to finally get around and saying, I still don't feel well, let me try this. It made a huge difference in my life. Anyway, point being, I understood that it could be difficult to get. And he asked me if I would be okay taking one of the others for the time being if they needed to order it. I said, yeah, no problem. So he sends me over a prescription for Synthroid and levothyroxine. And I was questioning him, like, how do I use this? I mean, it's an image on the phone. And while he was answering my questions, he's like, wait a minute. He said, I found one. And I'm like, what? He says, I just found one. He says, it's the exact same medication that you're taking now currently. It's just under a different name. He said, the dosage is a little bit lower. So you may want to ask your doctor if it's okay for you to go ahead and take this. And we talked about it. And I said, well, I have a pill splitter. I said, if it's lower, I can take 1.5 pills or whatever. And he said, okay, that'll work. And so he sent me over a prescription for that as well. I was surprised that he hadn't given up. While we were talking, he was still researching, trying to help me get the right thing. He said, look, if they don't have it on the shelf, get the Synthroid. If they do, great. If not, they'll order it for you, and you'll have this in the meantime. That works for me, absolutely. And he ended the conversation with, thank you. It was nice talking to you. If you ever need anything else, just message me. And I had to stop him right there. I said, you mean make an appointment and ask for you? And he said, no, just message me here at this number. just message me at this number. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, I've never had a doctor just ask me to message them directly. He said, I'm here. Anything you need, just message me. Okay, thank you. That appointment did cost me about 60 American, which is pretty much on par with what I pay to walk into a doctor's office for the first visit. So that wasn't a problem. I headed straight over to the pharmacy. I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with this picture, but I walked up to the counter and showed it to him. He just looked at it and said, okay, turned back around and got it. He had my natural thyroid medication on hand. I was thrilled. But then she took me to the register and rang me up. No forms to fill out, no questions for her computer system, nothing. Just, here you go. Now, it cost me about $30, which is almost exactly what I pay for my medication back in the US. I don't have insurance, so you guys might pay more or less, but this is what I usually pay at Walmart for my prescription. The price didn't make a huge difference in my life, but that process certainly did. I cannot tell you whether or not it'll be that easy to fill your prescription when you get here. I only know what my experience was, but definitely worth a shot, especially if you're in a pinch like I was. And the WhatsApp did turn out to be as useful as they said, not only for the rewards card and for the doctor's appointment. I found out this is how pretty much everybody here messages each other. It's not only how they message each other, but how they order their water for their house. And speaking of water, if you are curious about how people get their water to their homes that they can drink, or they get gas in their house, or they get their trash service, that is going to be the topic of my next video. We're just going to go through some of the basics. Things that I wish I had known, because I might not have been taking cold showers for the first 4 days when I got here. Anyway, if you want to stop by next week and check that out, that's what I'm going to be talking about. So after leaving there, right, I have my prescription in hand, but I don't know how long it's valid. The prescription literally has the date that I received it with no expiration date. Now, I don't know if that is specific to the kind of medication that I got, but I don't know when this expires. So when the next month came around, I just walked in and showed them the image again. I went a few days early just to make sure, in case I needed to contact the doctor again. No problem. They just took one look at it, gave me my pills again, and I've been doing that every month since, for the last 5 months. Essentially, what I had to remind myself in order to solve this situation was just to calm down, to breathe, and really slow down and think through all the different options available. When I did that, I stopped to think about my own situation back in the United States, and it occurred to me that maybe they had a similar process here. I was definitely expecting to have to go to an office and get poked and prodded. But much to my relief, considering that I have very difficult veins and a fear of needles, I did not have to do that. So thank you for watching this and for making it to the end and getting through my learning curve, probably some bad editing and a whole bunch of nerves. But if you did find some information valuable and you are looking for more useful information, you may want to check out these videos, like how not to end up playing border pong, or maybe what it's like to get pulled over by the police 3 times in 3 days here in Mexico, with very different results each time. I hope you take the time to watch. Thank you. And for a plug, if you really want to help this small channel grow, I'm going to be blunt and say, please hit the like or the subscribe button. It would sincerely help me not only get the message out, but help my channel grow, which I am looking to do. Take care.